Hello, I'm your host, DeAndrea Bolden, and you are tuned in to the Faith and Mental Health Podcast. As always, I have another amazing guest lined up today. You know how I do. I never introduce them. I always allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to my guest so he can tell you all who he is.
Hi guys, my name is Dr. Robb Kelly, specialized in addiction, alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, Alzheimer's, and onset dementia. We have 5 offices around the world. I do a lot of books and TVs and stuff. Kind of a concierge doctor today, which is awesome, which means I only do 3 patients every 3 months. But my staff, of course, takes care of everybody else. Just in case you think I'm from East Texas, I'm from Manchester, England, and I've been in Texas for around 18 years, 14 in Dallas, and where I reside today for 4 years is San Antonio, Texas.
Awesome. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to have Dr. Kelly on here. When I got the email about him, I was ecstatic. So listen, we're not going to hold anything back. I want him to jump in and tell you guys about his amazing story. We're going to talk about some of the things and challenges he's overcome, but I don't want to get too deep. So Rob, I want you to tell people a little bit about your story, even a little bit, if you don't mind, telling people a little bit about some of your training too, and just kind of your journey. Let people know who you are.
So like I said, in Manchester, England, grew up in a musical family. We kind of grew up what you would call the projects or Section 8 housing. We were very, very poor. My mum was a cleaner for other people's houses, and my dad was a gas company employee. He was a manual worker that dug the roads out. So musical family. I got my first guitar at 3, I think, and I was on stage with my auntie and uncle at 9, playing professionally. Took my first drink at 9. I didn't know anything about addiction and alcoholism, and things were good. Every weekend we'd play with the family band and earn money. And went through high school, and then lucky enough to get to college, and just wanted to become a pro musician. That's all. But so I went from bands to session musician in recording studios, and I actually got a job at Abbey Road, the famous Abbey Road in London. So I played with Elton John, David Bowie, Queen, all them great guys of the day. Still drinking. Uh, did the college thing, graduated, and joined the police force. I don't know why I joined the police force, but I did. And the next thing I knew, I got married, had 2 beautiful children, and then it all went wrong. My drinking was out of control, and there was a lot of stuff that is hardcore, and I was embarrassed for many, many years until I realized that I had to tell my stories. A lot of terrible things happened in that house, and everything was finally taken away from me. Children were taken away from me. My wife left, houses, cars, everything was gone within months, and I'm sat on the street, homeless, thinking, where the hell did that just go wrong? And that was
Wow.
my 14 months after that. I'm still on the streets. Died twice on the streets in Manchester, and they brought me back to life with another 5 attempts. So it was just like I couldn't kill myself, I thought. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how far down the scale I went. And talk about rock bottom. I mean, it was sad, pathetic. And 97% of people on the streets in Manchester die on the streets. And I was one of the
Wow.
3% that got off.
Wow. So you obviously have gone through a lot. I want to talk, I want to kind of dive in because, I kind of shared it to you in passing, but for those that don't know, for years in the state of Michigan, I had my CAADC DP, and I worked as a substance abuse counselor, and I worked with hundreds of people in various stages of addiction and recovery. And so I want to talk a little bit about how you overcame. I mean, to go from homelessness to doing what you're doing now. I want to kind of talk about the process and the journey in between of that rock bottom moment where you really realize, you know what? I'm alive. I got to do this. I got to kick it in a high gear. I got to get it together. And I also want you to talk about, what the journey looked like as far as, were there any relapses? How long did it take you to really to reclaim your sobriety? How long have you been sober? Those type of things. What are the things you've done to help maintain your sobriety? I see a lot of people struggle with relapse. Relapse is a really big issue for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. But I want you to kind of speak to that, to give someone hope, even if it's not for themselves, but for their loved ones. A lot of people have children and spouses and siblings and parents that they have watched struggle with addiction for decades. And so I want you to share your testimony, your story, about how you overcame and some of the things you do to stay on the straight and narrow and to avoid relapse even until today.
So the first thing is obviously I was on the streets and early hours Monday morning, it was pouring down with rain. I dropped down to my hands and knees and I was done. I'd done everything. I tried everything. I'm an atheist. God had taken everything away from me. I hated him and everybody else. And I don't know what happened. I was crying from my belly. Now, I wasn't crying because I'd lost my children, house, wife, all that stuff. I was crying because the first time in my life I realized I couldn't stop drinking. I looked up to the sky and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And around
Wow.
30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner. He'd missed his last bus home from a Bible study. He took a shortcut because he's never walked it before. He came across me 30 seconds after I said that. He said, my name's Derek. Come back to the house. You know, I'm a recovering alcoholic and a Christian. So we went back, I showered for the first time in a year. And he said, you can stay here for as long as you want, but you've got to come to these AA meetings with me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the AA meetings, but I went because it's a dry bed. While I was there, I met a guy called John who introduced himself to the group as a recovered alcoholic. And I'm like, what the hell did he just say? So after the meeting, I went up to him and I said, John, my name's Rob. Will you sponsor me? And he said, no, but I will be a spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. Every
Wow.
Wednesday, I left the house at 6. I couldn't go in the house before 7. So if I got there at 5, I had to wait downstairs. It's up to 7 apartment, go in, 1 minute to 8, he'd walk me towards the door with even half, whatever we're doing. And I walked back home for 9. That happened 12 times, 12 weeks. On the last day, he told me things would change from tomorrow and da 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 da. And it did, I got a job and stuff like that. So after a couple of weeks, when I got my paycheck, I went back. Now I'm working with people. Miracles are happening when I'm working with people. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to the apartment, little teddy bear and a card, and there was nobody there. So the right hand lady came out in her apartment. She said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, where's John moved to?" And she said, "John who?" I said, the guy in the apartment. And she said, "Well, I've only been here a couple of months. I've never seen anybody in that apartment." So I went around to the left hand and an apartment and I knocked on the door and a big guy came to the door. "What do you want?" So where's John relocated to? And he said, "John who?" I said, "The guy, what's wrong with you guy? The guy living, your neighbor, what's wrong with?" He said, "He went on to tell me that you can't go in that apartment. And if you did, you'd fall 2 flights below and probably kill yourself." Uh, and I went back to the group where I'd met him. And as I walked in, the guy said, "Hey, Robert, great to see you." And I'm like, "Thank goodness for that. I'm not going crazy. Does John still come here?" And he said, "John who?" I said, "The guy I'm over to the coffee machine asking sponsor, spiritual advisor." And he said, "Oh my God, Rob, we thought you were praying because you were talking to yourself. We've never found that man." And when I
Mm.
started to get wealthy, I put the best private detective in England on the case, and they could never trace him. But everything
Wow.
he said to coming over here has happened, and it's true. We're the only company in the world that have a 98% success rate with
Wow.
alcoholics and drug addicts and depression and PTSD. And we're the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you relapse. And this is the stuff that I learned from John. And we've done about 9,500 patients and, being on all the TV stuff, the Oprahs and all that, and the eye openers, probably
Mm-hmm.
millions and millions and millions of people that we've helped. Um, so, how long been sober? I never tell anybody. And I had a sponsor with 29 years, took
Okay.
me back to his house, give me sleeping meds, and woke him in bed naked with him. So, in terms of sobriety, don't impress me. Um, but we're neuroscientists. So what we knew about alcohol and drugs was not true. You can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. The drug and alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made.
Hmm.
But we found 3 parts of the brain differ in alcoholics than do in any other addiction. Again, you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic, but you can take enough drugs to become a drug addict. One's a predisposition, one's the addictive personality. Well, how do we know that? Well, 90% of people that come to us started in the doctor's office with a drug addiction. So we were staunchly, the percentage is unbelievable. We have a lot of great tools that we use. We have 5 offices around the world. We're adamant, we're almost aggressive that every single person can recover from all the stuff that I've mentioned. Every single person without fail can recover if A, you only knew what addiction was, or depression, or stuff like
Mhm.
that, and B, how the mind works.
So how does your definition of addiction I guess how is it different from some of the I guess more broader or other generalized definitions? Like how what makes your definition of addiction different is what I'm asking.
I'll concentrate on the drugs and the alcohol because only 1% with a problem. 99% is mentally the prefrontal cortex and the hypothalamus. So what we found with our studies, everybody wants to, if you can just stop drinking for 30 days, stick in the treatment center, not really teach you anything, and after 30 days you go home and you relapse. Oh well, he wasn't ready. I wasn't having that. I knew there was something else to it. So here's our biggest discovery. The hypothalamus with the alcoholic, for instance, it tells every single human being from birth that it's a survival part of the brain that we need to eat food and drink water to survive. And that's the fundamental
Mm-hmm.
basic survival. At a certain point of the drinking career, because that's what it was for me, a career, the hypothalamus turns around to the alcoholic and tells them drink alcohol only to survive. And that's why we can go days or weeks without food or water. And the primary thought pattern from the prefrontal cortex is if I don't drink alcohol, I will die. So everything else comes away. And we know quite well it's the absolute opposite. So stop concentrating on the alcohol and drugs. Find out exactly what's going on in here, your environment, and the gateway drug, the childhood trauma.
Yeah, trauma. That's
And
that's
what we
that's
found,
really
we
good.
have what's called the family systems that we work with. If a
Hmm.
patient comes on board, his partner, who he lives with, like his wife, has to come on board. So he comes on seven
That's
days a week
good.
for 1 hour a day. She and anybody over the 18 daughters have to come on for 2 days a week. If the patient is all for it and the wife says no, we will not take the patient.
Wow.
And you have to pass an assessment to come on board. It's like we've turned down millions from pop stars and who wasn't ready, and they were in the papers next day shaving their heads and stuff, crazy stuff like that. It's like you can't buy yourself into this company. It doesn't work like that.
So your assessment, are you checking for motivation?
I'm checking for a couple of things. Motivation. The biggest one we get is rich parents bringing the kids here and telling them to, get him to stop taking drugs. It's like, we will do anything. We will bring him in. We'll pretend, that I'm still using Adderall and we can share one and totally unethical practices. And if he says, yeah, we go out to the parents, so we can't help him. I'm looking for, are you 100% in? Are you going to do this no matter what happens? Because we don't ask you how you feel. We tell you how you feel until you get your feelings back and you sense and you restore that back to that sanity that we've lost so long ago. And if there's an inch where he goes, well, my parent out, we don't take him. And we've had
Okay.
crying, we've had begging in the waiting room. It's like we do not do it. We're very adamant, we're very aggressive when it comes to this disease because it kills people. If only you knew the statistics around alcohol and drugs,
Hmm.
uh, never mind depression, PTSD, you would be astounded, but they're not reported as alcohol overdose or drug overdose. They're
Hmm.
reported as car crash, house fire. So,
Right.
we studied that for a long time in hospitals and we found out that we reckon with everything we've seen that alcohol kills more people than heart attacks, cancer, all that stuff put together, but it's not reported as so. Because everybody
Wow.
knows somebody. Everybody, that's what we say. Everybody knows somebody who suffers from alcohol addiction. And
Yeah.
if you don't, it's probably you,
Wow.
right? Crazy.
That's true. I mean, we all know someone that is struggling. I want to kind of segue. I want to talk about how you really got into becoming a neuroscientist. Talk a little bit more about what you studied academically, and then I want to talk about how you got your practices set up, like the passion behind it, where did the idea come from, the whole concept? Kind of let people know a little bit about that.
I came over here 18 years ago for 2 weeks to do a tour, speaking tour, and never went back home again. So that's kind of where the company was founded.
Wow.
Um, we knew we were onto something, and we knew that we had to adamantly move forward uh, after done our own work. That's really important to make sure I was fit to do this because 9 years ago, I had a mental breakdown because I was trying to help the world. And I took no time for me. And you know yourself when you're working with these patients, they take a piece of you every single time away from you. And if you don't repair that, the idea to have the best addiction company that's changed from everybody else, that was just what John told me. He told me that God told him that I have to go out and guarantee people can recover from alcoholism and addiction. And I just can't do that. People will kill me. But I did. And at first, when I came over here, the medical fraternity stripped me of my license and said we were harming people because they didn't understand our methods. So we open offices. We have offices in Dallas, in San Antonio, where I am, in Manchester, England, London, England, Spain, and Switzerland.
Mhm.
And I want it, everyone thinks it's really hard to succeed. It's not. Everyone thinks it's really hard to make money. It's not. Got to make a mistake. It will not make you happy, but it's not. If you knew how the mind works, everybody can do anything that you want. And years ago, I'm not into politics. I don't care about politics. But we had a businessman around the country for 4 years with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me that you can't achieve your dreams. It's just not true. Somebody's put that there. Somewhere in the past, someone said to you, you're a waste of time, you'll never amount to anything. Look at you, especially friends around us today. You know, everybody's jealous about what we have, but no one's jealous how we got here. And what I'm telling you, whether you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you have to treat yourself as if you're the best in the world. On the back of my business cards, it has the best dictionary in the world. We're not messing around. So if you want to do something, you have to find out the way the mind and the neuroscience works behind it. I have a biology, a master's in human biology. I have a PhD in behavioral science and a PhD in psychology, and numerous other certificates to do what I do today. But listen, and you'll might identify with this. Of all the teachings, and about 21 years in schools and colleges to date, my 90% of what I teach today came from my homelessness because it's that experience that became my greatest asset. Because when people come today, I'm a multimillionaire today. We give a lot of money away. I want to say I'm not just sat on this big hill, we give a lot of money, hundred thousands
Gotcha.
back into the communities. But anybody can be here, but our childhood trauma keeps saying we can't. And most people walk around about 45% of the capability because they're living in this world worrying what other people say to them and what other people. I was in Dallas for 14 years and I kept saying to my friends, I'm thinking of writing a book. And they laughed. They said, obviously, you're not an author. You can't write a book. Who do you think you are? I never wrote a book. But I came down to San Antonio 4 years ago and I mentioned to a couple of my friends, I'm thinking of writing a book. Now, are you kidding me? Why do you think you've got books out there? You have to write this book. So I wrote a book. Which brings me to the sentence: if you hang around 9 depressed people, you'll become the 10th. If you hang around 9 great fathers, you'll become the 10th. The behavioral patterns of human beings and the way the brain works, of the attraction of the same like energy and frequency to somebody else, is absolutely mind blowing. Absolutely mind. We can repattern, reprogram brains. We can, the subconscious brain wakes us up in the morning because that's the bad guy, by the way, because of hypoxic situations. During the hours when we sleep, there's no oxygen. So we found a way to get rid of the subconscious and spike the conscious for the day. This guy's going to absolutely kill it every single day, but this guy wakes us up. That's where the 24 hours, it's not an AA thing. It goes way before that. When early days, they found out that different parts of the brain reset every 24 hours, the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. So unless you start again from the bottom, like tomorrow, I've got to do everything I did today to walk out the door, then I'm going to be successful. But you have to start thinking. you're the person you already are. Quantum physics backs us up here. If you want to start a podcast, you know, stop saying sorry or I can't or maybe. You have to treat yourself as if you're the best in the world. And then you start to clear your childhood trauma up and then surround yourself with people that validate you and not in a needy way and improve you every single day. And the guys that don't, you need to get away from them. I just lost 157 pounds on this, 63 now. When I was 60, I wanted to become the fittest 60-year-old in the world.
Wow.
Somebody said the other day, "Oh, Robert, see, you're putting weight back on." No, I'm just joking, man. I'm joking. He's gone. See, I don't need negative stuff like that in my life because there's two kinds of people in this world. The people that love you for who you are and the people that want to be you. And that's it. And I'm not messing with the guys that want to be me. If you do, I don't want you to do as good as me, I want you to do better. But I don't mess with those guys. And I really don't care what people think about me today. And I'm strong, I'm attractive, I'm handsome, I'm powerful, I've stood in the sunlight of the spirit, so nobody can harm me. The situations that God's had me in is incredible, and I never got harmed, just like John said. So we're kind of these powerhouses. Every single staff member is a recovered alcoholic, depression, PTSD, childhood trauma, or
Wow.
alcohol. Every single one of them.
Wow. All I can say is wow, because I took some stuff away. I wasn't even interjecting in between for those that are tuning in, because he said some stuff that helped me change my perspective. Yeah. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. But yeah, so for those that are tuned in, I've been on here talking with Dr. Kelly. He's been sharing his story and sharing about the things he's doing after overcoming alcohol addiction. And so it looks like we're pretty tight for time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow him to have the rest of the time to tell you all where the titles of his books and where to find them. If you are someone is in need of professional help to overcome any type of addiction, I think he said PTSD and trauma, then he has clinics around the world. He's going to tell you how to find those clinics and where the website is. He's going to tell you how to connect with him and how to contact him directly as well. And so I'm going to give him the rest of the time. Dr. Kelly, take it away.
Thank you so much. So if you're listening, I'm not watching, guys. I'll spell my name with two B's, ROBBKELOY.com. Jump on the website, have some fun with us. There's a couple of things that we do that we're proud of. If you're a spouse or if you're a mum and dad of somebody that's suffering, we have two people in this company that'll spend all day with you on the phone, guiding you and getting you through. We're not going to cost you a dime. I don't care if you call 100 times a day. Because when my parents are going through what I did, they died early because of what I did. We're not playing that game. We're there for you 100%. All the social medias, Dr. Robb Kelly, Addiction Doctor, I think, as well on TikTok. But there's a book out there, guys. And the last thing I said to my daughter, age 3, was, Daddy, she said, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And 30 years on, 4 years ago, she contacted me on Messenger. She said, Dad, I don't care what anybody says. I want to see you. I've got something to show you. So we have a lot of people around us. So within 2 hours, we're on a private jet heading back. And I stood outside her door the next day, guys. And I'm so nervous. And my wife's there and I'm crying. And she opened the door unexpected. And we hugged and we cried. And she walked me into her living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. So, Daddy, please stop drinking. Don't buy it on Amazon, guys. If you can't afford the $10, please don't buy it on Amazon. Message me or message this show and said, I saw Dr. Robb's book. I'm going to sign it specially for you. I'm going to give it you free. I'm going to pay for the shipping and we'll send it out. The first 10 people to do that gets that completely free of charge on one condition. Give it to somebody else when you've finished, done with it, guys. That's all we ask. We're more giving away than we are taking. We've always been like that. See, we don't want something off you. We want something for you. That's the premise of the company. If we can help a human being, compliment people every day, guys. The guy walks to the Golden Gate Bridge and throws himself off. Commits suicide. The police pull him out. They go back to his apartment because he's got his ID. They're looking for next of kin. What they find is a letter on the kitchen table, and it reads, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge, which was an hour's walk, by the way, throw myself off and commit suicide, unless somewhere or somebody on the way smiles at me, says good morning, winks, whatever it is, acknowledges me, I will stop and I'll come back and I'll try again. My question to all of you is right now, how many people have you walked past today that's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? So be kind to each other, guys. That's all we ask for. Be kind to each other.
Wow, that was really, really good. So hopefully you guys heard that. You can get the book for free. Reach out to Dr. Robb Kelly yourself, and I'll make sure that I put the clip out there as well. Also, I just want to thank Dr. Kelly again for being my guest. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and God bless you all.